I've got a pretty meaty outline today for my July wrap-up, so let's get right into it with the cards that I pulled for July. And in July we had Devotion with the Six of Cups. So I began feeling really nostalgic for the period when I first started my journey with the tarot and with oracle cards. To me, there's just no other time when one is such a beginner than the beginning, right? Tarot is very endless. There's a lot to learn and all these nuances and other cool studies to bring in to deepen your practice, but there's truly never a time when you're learning the cards for the very first time. I just remember the books I was reading, the decks I was using, and it brought me to a place where I was just really missing all of those things. So I kind of went down this Colette Baron Reid rabbit hole because if you didn't know, my very first deck ever was the Mystical Shaman by her and others. I have seen her other oracle decks and I've always been fascinated by them, wanted them, they've been on my wish list, but I've never owned another deck from her. And I just went down a rabbit hole with that. And then it brought me to, Hay House. They're having their mega sale, or they were having it. And they had an advertisement on there featuring Colette and this mini oracle, I don't want to call it like a webinar but kind of like a training or overview. And I believe it was the third week of July, she was hosting 3 sessions in a row, so like a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday type of thing. And she was hopping on live and it was free to join. Of course, if you wanted on the first day for a chance to be featured, join her for a session later in the day, you could pay some money to do so. But I just decided to register and hop in there, and as much as what she was saying is kind of things I already knew, it was just really nice to kind of reconnect with, I don't want to say her, but that time and place. That's kind of what I was seeking or going back to. So it was really great to re-engage with the decks and the feelings that made me start with my journey with cards. And I did end up finding an Enchanted Map Oracle. I bought it secondhand. I know her Wisdom of the Oracle tends to be more popular than her others, but for some reason I was just really drawn to this enchanted map and really thinking about my journey kind of in the map theme. So I have that deck on the way, but yeah, the Six of Cups really came forward for me this month. And then so did Devotion. So I really feel like for the first time this year, I have really had time or made time for my practice, for myself, to really sit down and be with the cards, not just do a daily pull. I was really intentional about my practice. The nostalgia piece with the Six of Cups really brought me back to that time period where I really was sitting down and I was in the zone with my cards. So I'm just going to pull over here my journal about Devotion just so you can get to see the spreads here while I kind of talk a little bit more about it. But not only was I feeling nostalgia in my practice, but I was really pulled back to my childhood and just the feeling of growing up and how summers felt like they were equal in length to like the school year, and the hot days where I would be bored and telling my parents that, and them saying that was, almost a swear word in a way, to be bored, and being sent outside to find something to do, where the TV stayed off the majority of the day, and the internet, when I was a kid, really, it wasn't a thing, so I didn't have interaction with it, and it didn't have the pull that it does now. It's integrated into every aspect of our lives. And overall, just how quickly time has passed, and that feeling of, wow, I guess I'm an adult now, that's pretty wild. So, and I put this in my final thoughts here, again, reiterating the fact that I really connected with the messages for this month, and it was the best month thus far in my practice and my overall mood and how I've been feeling and processing things, and the connection to just the overall message. So I found it a very aligned month. I had a lot of fun doing this dedicated spread. It was a smaller spread, but the way I worked with certain cards really brought forward some really cool insights. So I just had a really great time. So now let us pull our oracle card for the month of August. Again, I am using the Mystic Path Oracle this year. Okay, so we have World of Wonder. Magic and mystery everywhere. Learn to look again. That's great because it aligns so well with my tarot card, which is the Three of Wands. So this is the duo that we have for the month of August. Very nice. Okay, so now let's get into the decks that I used in July. All of the decks that I ended up using in July was basically paired with this main deck because I really became reconnected with it, and that is the Mystical Shaman Oracle. This is my first deck ever, and I did a dedicated video speaking about how I wasn't really feeling connected with this deck anymore, and I was very much considering rehoming it. And a lot of you dissuaded me from doing that because you can't get back your very first deck. I mean, technically I could repurchase this deck, but it wouldn't be that original one. And for someone like me who is very sentimental, that matters a lot. I decided to keep it, but it still has been sitting until this month when I really brought it back out. So I'm just going to pair this here with all the other decks that I worked with because that's really how I worked with everything this month. So in tandem, I did use the Glyph Sacred Symbols Oracle. Now, I also used this deck in combination with the others featured here as well, but I really liked the pairing here. I think I am getting to know the Sacred Symbols Oracle here more and more each time that I pull it out. It is really, really great. I love the setup of the guidebook. I feel like it gives us enough, but then leaves it more open-ended, which I will show you. So it's just a little book here, but what I really like, and let's go to 21 because that's the card right now, but it gives a little history about the card, so in this instance flame, and the symbolic context, the historical context and cultural context that a flame has. And then over here, it gives bullet points of meanings of the card. And I think having more context and background to some history to each of the symbols in the deck is really great because my brain kind of works like that. I am naturally always Googling stuff anyway, so it's nice to have it right here in one spot. And then these are just really quick insights into what the card could mean. And I found that I really relied on my intuition first, and then I would read the history. And then when I came over here, one of these bullet points was almost always in alignment with my intuition. So like I said, it's just enough because then you can kind of take that message and run with it a little bit more naturally. So I found this really great, and I think it's so interesting because this deck here is centered on shamanism, and the glyphs is a little bit more Egyptian in nature. Now, these symbols are like music is a symbol in our everyday life now. Cats we see everywhere. But to bring in that historical piece, to bring us back to how ancient civilizations thought of it and used it and honored it, I don't know, I just really liked that layer. And I think this is quite a nice pairing, that shamanism piece with some sacred symbols, because shamanism also has sacred symbols as well. So yeah, I just thought that was a really nice pairing. And then I worked with Santa Muerte. Now, this was a deck I did mention that I wanted to continue working with, and I did just that. It's been a deck that I've just can't let go of. I don't know, I just adore Santa Muerte and this tarot. The depictions are just so unique. I mean, there's color stories here. Again, different cultural ties, but I like that. It helps me learn even more. And then I think perhaps my favorite pairing is this. This trio was really great. And that was with these three, with the glyphs, sacred symbols. There was a really great energy about these three as a pair. I feel like because Northern Animal Tarot is steeped in nature, even though it is anthropomorphized, I think I said it right, even though it is animals doing like human-like things, I think that brings forward a deeper connection between these two specifically. I know it might really seem like an odd pairing. Visually, it really kind of does, but I mean, there's some congruency here. Source, water is a source of life, one of them. but you can really tap into some really cool things with this trio, and that's really what I uncovered. So now I want to talk a little bit more about the Northern Animal Tarot specifically. So let me just tuck away these guys. Okay, so now I really want to talk specifically about Northern Animal Tarot because it is the deck that my subscribers picked for me to work with in July. So how did I work with it and what did I learn from it? So it had truly been a while since I had used this deck, and I was really honestly happy to see that it won the vote. And because the Mystical Shaman re-entered my practice and I really did not want to set that deck down, naturally I paired these together as you just saw. But spending dedicated time with the Northern Animal Tarot this month reminded me a lot that tone and depth aren't mutually exclusive. On the surface, this deck's kind of like cartoonish style artwork and endearing animal characters might suggest something light, easy, and playful. And it is those things, but what surprised me was how well it held space for deeper, more layered work. So I paired it with Mystical Shaman Oracle and the Glyph Sacred Symbols Oracle, two decks that really take me into a more archetypal, expansive, historical like territory, spiritual territory. And I have expected a true mismatch in tone of energy, but instead the Northern Animal Tarot grounded those bigger themes into something more embodied and emotionally accessible. It didn't shy away from bigger themes. It didn't shy away from nuance or shadow. In fact, it kind of brought those things more forward, to be honest. I think the softness of the artwork and again the cute animal figures here helped me sit with those deeper shadowy things more willingly and feeling more safe to do it. So using it again after some time away felt really great, really good to reconnect with the deck. It felt familiar because I have used this before, but different at the same time because I was seeing aspects of the deck that I really hadn't noticed before. And so I think what I learned the most was not something technical about the card meanings, but something more relational, that this deck has more range than I gave it credit for. And it really tended to meet me where I was. It didn't dilute work or readings by making it more gentle. It made it more accessible for me and my brain and where I'm at currently. So this was a really special deck to work with this month. I think everything just kind of aligned with the decks that I had chosen. I don't know, there was a unspoken ebb and flow and congruency between this and the Glyphs and Mystical Shaman. So it was just absolutely beautiful. And I do feel a little sad to kind of move on from that trio because it brought so much for me. And I'm really glad that I got the time to work with it. And ultimately, this is why I am kind of giving that opportunity for others to kind of choose what I work with, because you never know what could be brought forward. Because I was not naturally thinking of working with this deck. I just put it on the list because it had been a little bit of time. But I guess speaking of, I think this will help segue us into the next section, which is the subscriber deck picks for August. Earlier in July, I did a video that was centered on decks that I haven't worked with in a while and why. I'll put it up in the cards if you haven't seen it yet, but I thought it was a great opportunity and very appropriate to choose from those decks for this list here for my August subscriber deck picks. So for this month, you can vote on the following decks, and I'm just going to quickly showcase them here, and I'm not going to get them out or anything, but your choices are Tarot of the Crystal World, Tarot de Carlotydes, the Two Bugs Tarot, and the Anima Mundi. Now, the poll system on the community tab here on YouTube only lets you do 4 options, so that's what I will be doing from now moving forward. But those are the 4 options. Go cast your vote. The poll is up now. Now let's move into the other decks that I want to work with in August, the ones that I intentionally picked. The first one here is Radiant Wilds. I just feel like this deck was made for August and Leo season, and I'm really excited to match that energy. So let me get situated here. I don't know, I'm feeling called to the colors, the boldness. It literally feels like heat in a deck, and I'm just really excited to work with this. It is a recent addition to my collection. I did purchase it this year. I believe it was in the first quarter deck haul, and I did kind of play around with it at first. I flipped through the cards. I did a couple of smaller like daily pulls. I paired it with the Wild Whispers a couple times, which is the oracle that I will be showing in a minute because it's also on the list here. But I haven't really spent too much time exclusively with this deck working with it, so I just feel called to it, and it's so pretty. I love this art style. Like, I truly love this art style, so I'm excited to... I mean, look at that death card. That's fabulous. It's great. Yeah, I'm ready to dig into this one for August. And then, just as I mentioned, I want to pull out its sister slash companion deck, the Wild Whispers. I really want to spend some time with both of those this month. I want to work with them together and apart. I have done some really great readings with this, and I think it's applicable for outside of the summer season. I actually really think this would be great to use in the fall, which we are approaching that time. Can you believe it? It's around the corner now. I know a lot of you are excited about that, but I'm really trying to stay present myself in the season that we're in, trying to make concerted efforts at least, because summer is truly not my season, and instead of trying to wish it away or that it would go by faster, I've just been trying to just enjoy it while it's here, live in the now. So I think that these two decks will help me appreciate summer a little bit more, because I am a winter gal. And then next, to kind of continue on that desert heat theme, I have Desert Illuminations. I've been aching to use this deck, and it is mass market now, so that's the awesome thing about it. But I watched a video, I think her name is Jessie Chom, and I will link her channel above and below in my description. But she talked about decks that she uses for ancestral work and like cosmic ancestral work, and that whole like term cosmic ancestry really like sent me down this really cool tangent, I guess. And I can't remember if Desert Illuminations was on this list. I don't think it was. I think she had a lot of mass market options, which is really great, but I kind of want to work with Desert Illuminations in that way and kind of just have a play and see what comes forward. Right now, I am not really doing ancestry work. I have been focused on other things this year, but it's definitely like ancestral work has been something I've been wanting to do, and I'm fascinated by this like cosmic ancestry thing. And she explains beautifully her take on starseed, the term, and goes into a little bit how she feels differently about the term, and that that's not the right term, but it's the one that we kind of have. So I don't know, that just kind of fascinated me, and the way she was describing her work around it was much more grounded than I think sometimes when we talk about starseed. It can kind of get a little bit, I don't know, corny, gimmicky, but the way she was talking about it, it was not that for her, and so it really kind of pulled me in and interested me. And I think the Desert Illumination, so the desert holds like a lot of mystery and mysticism, and I am nowhere near a desert. I'm on the East Coast, but I just thought this would be a great deck to tap into that like cosmic ancestry. So I'm really looking forward to doing that and working with this deck again. Then I have this one, the Napo Tarot. This is me wanting to connect with this deck and work with it. I purchased this last summer, and it was at the tail end of summer, and I haven't really picked it up and worked with it, and it's really a shame because I absolutely love the artwork. I love that it has keywords on the minors. I don't know, it's like something about the artwork is just, I love it so much. I honestly will pick up this deck and like flip through it a lot, but I don't end up using it. I think, okay, thank you, Page of Swords here. So yeah, it's definitely like, it kind of gives like a stained glass kind of vibe, especially with the shapes and how the artist uses variations, in this case his suit, variations of brown, and it creates like that texture that you see from a glass window, a stained glass window. But I don't know, I just really like it. It's geometrical, but I get a lot of feeling from it, like when I hold it, when I interact with it. I love the backs. I I really love the backs a lot. I think it appears as though it's watercolor, so it's very fluid feeling. I don't know, I'm just, oh, look at this moon card. How pretty. Yeah, it deserves so much more attention than I've given it. So I just want to spend some time with this deck. And this one is still available. It is through US Game System. They still print it. I happen to get a older copy just because, I don't know, I'm that way. I wanted an older copy. So those are the decks that I intentionally want to spend time with this month. Now I'd like to move on to the last section here that I'm calling my practice and life reflections. And the first one I want to share with you is with this little guy here. This is a junk journal that I purchased off of Danny Mystic's Etsy shop. Now I have been into junk journaling for a while now, and I just felt, when I saw this on her listing, I felt a connection to it, and I love its little size, and I had a really great idea to use it for small little moments of magic and to jot them down in here, journal about them, art journal about them, those serendipitous little things that you just can't believe happened, that you notice, that you are, I don't know, just those little moments. I wanted a place to write about them, and so I did that. I did my first entry here, and I want to talk a little bit about it because in the month of July I really had a connection to dragonflies. So, and I'm just going to, this has my notes on all of the things, but in July, the dragonfly made a prominent appearance in my life, and it truly began where I was rewatching the Gilmore Girls on Netflix, and in that, the Lorelai and Suki, the main two of the main characters rather, they purchase and remodel a place and call it the Dragonfly Inn. Now, that is not something in and of itself that's, you know, like, ooh, ah. But then at the beginning of the month, around the 4th of July, me and my family decided to go camping, and we don't have any camping gear right now, so we decided to rent a little cottage, and the name of the cottage was Dragonfly Landing. Now, when I realized that, I was like, oh my gosh, that's so cool. Like, I just thought it was like, ha ha ha, because, you know, the Dragonfly Inn on the show, that's so crazy. But then I discovered a brand new YouTuber to me, and I ended up doing their tag video, which I discussed earlier, Dragonfly Dilly. And I was like, oh my gosh, their name has Dragonfly in it. That's so crazy, like that. And then it like reminded me of the other two incidents. And then upon getting this journal that Danny created, she included extra little bits and charms. Let me grab like this little baggie of different charms in here. So there's a unicorn one, this word one, there's a cat in there, which is great, an owl. Like, actually, this is so crazy because anyway, hang on. I have so many thoughts. So she had a dragonfly one in here, this one here. And I was like, oh my gosh, no way. Like, dragonflies have been so prominent. Like, this is crazy that she would choose this charm of all charms put in here. But I will segue a little bit here in that my daughter loves unicorns. My partner is very connected to owls. And, you know, we only have 4 cats. So the cat charm here, I don't know. And I love this little charm here. But anyway, so it was just like really great to see. Whoops. Dropped one. But it was really great to see how all of us were kind of like included in these charms that she provided, which is just like crazy to me. Like, you can't make this stuff up. Anyway, so she included this, and then when we got home from our camping trip, I was just sitting outside in a moment to myself, and we are not near water at our house, and a big, large, like iridescent green dragonfly lands on the concrete, because we have a patio of all places right in front of me, and it's just hanging out for the longest time. And I'm just like sitting there in awe, and I'm like, the dragonfly is a symbol, it's popping up, and I need to pay it an honor. So what I did is I did this little dedicated spread here. Nothing, I mean, most of this magic here is Danny. I just added this, which is a paint chip card, and this, and I had a sticker, and then I wanted her charm here included. But I just wrote about honoring the dragonfly. I jotted down all the things that were happening and how it was popping up, and then on the back here I wrote about some of the symbols of the dragonfly. So again, just those little like symbols and serendipitous moments that happen, I want to jot down in this beautiful, beautiful little journal. And she included a ton of extras, which is super sweet of her. So I'm really excited to fill this out and have our adventures. So great. Danny's so talented. Next, I wanted to touch on the ending of Majestic Earth and going into my Marseille study with Mr. Friborg. So I will be studying the Marseille through a deep dive with this deck, Tarocchi by Mr. Friborg, and I will be using the Marseille Tarot Revealed. I have already started reading and annotating the introductory chapters, and I will be using this book, this deck, and in tandem, the Squidcake Marseille Tarot. Now, the reason I went ahead and I got this is because I've heard awesome things about the guidebook and it describing the visual cues and patterns of each of the minor cards. So we get keywords, we get the meaning here, and then visually, it explains kind of what's going on. And I am a very visual person by nature. I learn visually, so I thought that between this guidebook, and I know it is describing the specific images of the Squidcake Marseille, I think it's pretty classic representations here, but you know, I'll find that out as I dig in deeper. But I just thought having this guidebook, or this book here rather, combined with this guidebook and then the guidebook and actual deck of Tarocchi by Mr. Friborg together would help me learn Marseille, because not only am I doing a deep dive of this deck, but this is my introduction to Marseille in general, my first dive into it. So I think all of these together will help me catch my bearings as I use the deck and I get to know it. And I will be doing a dedicated video for my deep dive study plans for this deck, but I wanted to kind of spoil a few things right now. And the study will be shorter than the Majestic Earth. So the Majestic Earth was 5 months. This study will be 3 months. And I will be splitting it into 3 phases, not too dissimilar from the Majestic Earth, but those phases are: 1, foundations and numbering; 2, taking a deep dive into the majors and minors; and 3, integration, deck pairings, and personal practice. So that's just a quick highlight of my venture into my new deep dive study. I'm really looking forward to it. I loved spending time with Majestic Earth, but I'm definitely ready to move on to something else. The next thing I wanted to mention, this kind of naturally has happened, and I started kind of deconstructing it and realized that I hadn't really featured or spoken about this in a while. But you all might remember this journal that I have started taking apart. But this was my journal that I was keeping track of all of my card readings. And then I would put entries about each of the individual cards so that it became a catalog in a way. And I don't know, oh, here's one. So for the Ace of Pentacles, in my readings and in my practice, I would jot down every time it came up in a reading and I would catalog it here. Now, I spent a lot of time setting this up, thinking about how I wanted to use a tarot journal. But what I've come to realize is that this is not exactly functional anymore. It is very redundant having a spread journal and a catalog journal here, and then another study journal. So I feel like I've just outgrown the concept of this journal, and I wasn't keeping up with it anymore, if I'm completely honest. It was really difficult to have a reading, have a nice, beautiful reading where I journaled about it and tracked it in my spread journal, and then I would have to come back to this journal and put in separate entries and again regurgitate in 1 to 2 sentences how I was reading it, what the reading was, the deck that I used. And so it really wasn't very efficient, and that got in the way of me picking up this journal and cataloging it. Now, the reason that I wanted to do it this way is to see over time how my understanding of the card had changed or shifted, maybe pieces of information that I had learned along the way, kind of see it in a concise little tracked manner. And I think that that is a great concept, but in practice, it just really wasn't working for me. So I have a collage type journal just for fun here. This kind of stuff where I just play around with stickers and layouts and all sorts of cool stuff. So I'm currently deconstructing this, sorting it, and I'll be using the little art little collages that I put into it so I can use it elsewhere. I am a little sad because originally I had thought this was a great idea, and I really do think it is. I also realized that collaging at the top of the journal, it makes it thicker up top, and as a left-handed person I already have trouble writing in notebooks. Sometimes if you're left-handed, you kind of just you understand what I'm talking about, but the top over here is just so much thicker, and it really impeded like the writing experience, which is very important to me. I love all things stationary, so to have like a dip go down, and just it wasn't easy to take around and get out and use, because I always had to, I don't know, just deal with the thickness up top. Unless it was a card in the very back, then it was kind of okay, at least if it was on this side. But there are some little collage pieces here that I really want to save and use elsewhere. I don't want all of that hard work to go to waste. And then I will be using, like, all the front of this is just pretty much unused paper, so I'm just going to use it for scrap paper, because I jot down ideas and stuff and plan outlines and all that fun stuff, so I will use that as scrap paper, so it won't completely go to waste. But the concept of it just kind of failed me. But because I'm not doing that, I want to kind of touch on what I am doing. And you may have seen this journal before. I have featured it on my channel. So this was once my dedicated just spirituality exploration. And what I was doing in this is I would read a book and then write my notes in this. Or I think one of the entries in here was about Lilith, a study on Lilith, because she came forward to me in the past, and just jotting down stuff about Lilith. And then I read another book and wrote my notes on it here. But what I realized was I had too many journals spread out across things I was trying to do. I was compartmentalizing them, I guess is a better word. And so instead of having separate notebooks for separate things, I'm just going to be compiling all of it into one. And I think the reason I like the compartmentalized journal for everything is that it's easy to put in a collection, put them on a shelf in order, and know that this is where I can go to find books that I've read and my thoughts and notes on it. Or this is where I can go to see how Page of Wands has shown up for me over the several years and how my understanding of it has shifted. Or this is where I study astrology and all my notes on astrology. So it is helpful in that way, in that I don't have to, flip through one notebook and be like, I know I put that somewhere. But the separate notebooks thing just is not working for me. So I'm going to go into one centralized journal. And as you can see, I had time here, a mini study with When Olga Speaks. So when I first got it in, I did like a mini deep dive on it. And I did do a full Substack article speaking more in depth about my time with it. And I am putting spreads in here. I journaled about the Six of Cups for this month and nostalgia, more spreads, again, more spreads, just anything, book notes here. Just anything that comes to mind about me and my practice, I'm putting in this notebook here until it is finished, and then I will reevaluate and see how that's working for me. So one centralized journal now, instead of many separate ones. And lastly, I do thank you if you've made it to the last little bit here, but my 1-year anniversary on YouTube is coming up rather quickly. I put out my first video, technically, I believe it was my channel trailer, on August 8th, but I didn't really officially post my first video until a week or two later. But from an algorithm standpoint, August 8th is the birth of me creating content. I've had this channel for a long time as an observer and a watcher and a consumer of YouTube, but I shifted it to simplyhan, and I really can't believe that it's only been a year, because everyone has been so warm and welcoming and have made me feel like I've been here much longer. I've been integrated into the community much longer as a creator, and I couldn't thank you all enough. I sought out to create a dialogue with everybody and build a community, and I truly feel that I have done that, but I have not done it alone. Every one of you that watches my videos, who interacts with my content, whether that's the simplest form of just watching it or giving it a like or leaving a comment or following me on Instagram or subscribing to my Substack, all of that is just so amazing and a blessing to me. And so for this occasion, I thought it would be fun fun to do a Q&A, ask me anything video where you can ask me anything you want and I will answer your questions. I also want to host a giveaway of a deck and some extra goodies, so be on the lookout for that video, the Q&A, where I'm going to also combine the giveaway into that. I'll have all the details about the giveaway in that video, and I've also already put out a community post asking for your questions, so be sure to get your questions in so that I can answer it in that video. And I'm just truly amazed. It's really hard to put into words all of the feelings and thoughts I have. Truly, I started this channel a month before I lost my job, my previous job, and truly I don't know, well, I do know that I would have been way worse off if I hadn't had this channel and all of you amazing people to interact with and have by my side, and it truly kept me afloat in those times and processing that big life change and all the other changes that have come. And this channel has definitely helped keep me accountable in my spiritual practice. I am more consistent now, you know, not only just posting videos about what I'm interested in and topics and such, but behind the scenes, after the camera is over, I'm interacting more with my cards and my spirituality and all of that good stuff more now than I ever had before. And to be part of a community where others are doing similar things or even different things, it's just really, really great. And I feel like I truly have a place and a home, and it's been really, really, really great. So thank you all so much. I appreciate you sticking around for this quite lengthy wrap-up video, but a lot happened this month and I was really excited to share it with you all. And until next time, see you around.